If you've ever struggled with gut discomfort or bloatedness, then this is a video for you. In today's video, we're talking about how the gut works, what makes it not to work, which foods increase bloatedness, and what you can do to make it all go away. A video all about gut health and how you can take back control of your body. My name is Stefan, I have my degree in biokinetics and I've been helping people steer their bodies into the right direction for many years. On this channel, I post deep dive science informational videos on everything and anything health and wellness. Today's topic is bloatedness and gut discomfort. There are three main things that we need to take into consideration when it comes to gut health. What are those three things, you might ask? Well, the first one is we need to take into consideration that the gut is like a tiny ecosystem. And this ecosystem can be disrupted, which will lead to many unwanted symptoms like gassiness and so forth. Secondly, we need to know that certain foods either help the system function optimally or not. And lastly, medicines, lifestyle habits, and certain medical conditions also affect how optimally this system works. So let's look at the gut. Food enters via the esophagus, gets dumped into your stomach where many enzymes and acids start their work on breaking the food down into its macro and micronutrient components. The food then moves into the small intestines where much of the absorption takes place and more breakdown occurs. Lastly, it heads over to the large intestines for its final breakdown and absorption phase. Each one of these, let's call them areas of the gut, has its own unique ecosystem, filled with proteins, bacteria, and other digestive systems standing at the ready to optimally help the body getting the nutrients that it needs. As I mentioned earlier, this system can easily get disrupted. For example, let's look at the stomach. It is believed that the stomach has some of the world's strongest known acids in it, strong enough to kill germs and even melt off fingers. Now, how is it that the stomach itself can hold this acid? Well, the stomach has a beautiful protective mechanism called a mucus layer. And no matter how long the acid is in there, this layer will keep on protecting the stomach wall. Where the failure of this system occurs, however, is when the amount of acids get too much and breaks through this protective mucus layer. If this happens often enough, eventually the stomach wall will become inflamed. All of this, together with all of the gases formed by the body trying to neutralize the acids, will cause extreme stomach discomfort. This inflammatory condition is called gastritis. Now, not everybody with bowel discomfort has an inflamed gut, but it's certainly one of the many causes thereof. Pills also disrupt the health of the mucus layer, like pills that contain aspirin, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, for example. They cause a thinning of the mucus layer, which ultimately leads to a decreased ability of the gut to handle the acid. If this inflammation occurs for too long, this could ultimately lead to a stomach ulcer to form, which is bad, real bad. But that's on the worst side of it. And modern medicine has an answer to healing such conditions, luckily. Some less major medical condition-focused causes of bowel discomfort are food intolerances, like gluten intolerance. I made a whole video explaining everything about gluten a few weeks ago. Check it out on my page, I will leave a link below. But things like IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, can also be a cause for bowel discomfort. To simplify IBS, it's known as an oversensitive gut, where the nerves in your gut simply picks up too much of what's going on. That in itself can be a cause for discomfort. This condition is very difficult to diagnose, but the foods that I'm going to recommend in this video you eat more of and less of is definitely going to help decrease the symptoms of IBS anyways. So stay tuned for that. The last major consideration we should look at when it comes to gut health and bloatedness is what we call the microbiome of the gut. The ecosystem, the very fragile ecosystem. The gut contains a very nice diverse group of bacteria, all of which are very important for digesting the parts of foods that enzymes and acids couldn't do. Gut bacteria live on fiber. If you do not consume enough fiber, some important bacteria will starve. Some of this bacteria might even die, meaning that parts of the foods you consume can't be digested anymore, leaving it to ferment and eventually cause discomfort-associated gases to form. To make it even worse, bacteria will eventually resort to feeding on the mucus lining of your gut, exposing the wall, ultimately leading to gut inflammation accompanied by even worse gut discomfort. So it's very important to look after both the bacteria in your gut and the total acid load in your gut. Here are my science-backed recommendations on what to include in your diet and what to exclude in your diet if you do struggle with bloatedness and gut discomfort. Recent studies show that obvious foods like fruits and vegetables high in fiber help a lot. But more surprisingly, coffee, red wine, tea, and dark chocolate correlated with increases in microbiome diversity. Believe it or not, most people do not have an enzyme called lactase, meaning most people cannot break down lactose, which is in all dairy products. In fact, recent studies suggest that more than half of the world's population is lactose intolerant to a certain degree. Crazy, right? So avoiding dairy products might be a good start if you struggle with your gut health. You can also aid in the health of your gut by adding some probiotics into your diet. This is especially important if your diet isn't very healthy, if it contains a lot of fast foods, or if you've recently had antibiotics. So that's how you take care of your gut bacteria. Now let's look at some common gas-causing foods. You might not think it, but the alternative to sugar, sweeteners, aren't that healthy for your gut. Products like xylitol and erythritol are what we know as sugar alcohols and remain completely undigestible by the body. That's why they count as 0 calories and don't cause a blood sugar spike. But they do end up in the intestines being fed on by bacteria. We know them as bad bacteria, but they do have a good purpose. However, these bacteria take the sweeteners and produce gas, more discomfort-causing gas. So what you should know about sweeteners is if it ends in a tol, you should stay away from it. Stevia is a good alternative. It's not a sugar alcohol, meaning it's not 0 calories, but it's a great alternative if you do struggle with gut discomfort. Just make sure that it's pure stevia. They get clever and add erythritol to it. Something you can also remember is that some chewing gums also have erythritol in it, meaning it produces gas from the inside, and while you're chewing it, you swallow air, meaning it's gas from the inside and out, which is bad. More foods to avoid includes wheat-based pastas. The gluten therein can exacerbate the symptoms. And beans. Beans cause a lot of gas. Same goes for foods that ferment a lot, like cabbage, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, and even broccoli goes too far for some people. Rather go for lettuce, kale, spinach, and zucchini, for example. Fruits to avoid include watermelon and peaches, fruits that people usually use to make moonshine. Yeah, if it ferments easily, it creates gas easily, so avoid those. Rather go for something like strawberries and oranges. Carbonated sodas and beers are obvious no-goes. I also know that foods like cucumber and celery is especially helpful because they contain a lot of water, which helps to flush the colon. I also know that banana has a lot of resistant starch in it, which helps a lot with constipation. And foods like ginger and spinach also helps a lot. The magnesium therein often helps with muscle relaxation, which is good for the body and the gut, seeing as the gut is a muscle, and if it spasms, yeah, that's uncomfortable. These are what I know as the most important foods to avoid and add in your diet. A mouthful. The body is beautifully complex. And with every new video I bring out, I'm sure you're thinking there sitting, wow, my body is special. And yes, it is. Once you get a grip on it, you'll see that the body is a majestic machine capable of some crazy things. It would be a shame to grow old without experiencing the true capabilities your body has. Don't let your current health situation be your forever health situation. Take control and enjoy life. I'll see you in the next video. I post multiple times per week now. Excited for the next one? Remember to click the like and subscribe button, please. Okay, bye.